All right, hey guys, so it's me again, and I'm going to be reviewing We're Also Good at Crying by Amber McBride. I will try to put an image somewhere in the video so that you guys know exactly which book I'm talking about. Super, super amazing. It was a quick read. Just take care of yourself when you are reading the book because the themes in the book really deal with mental health, clinical issues, some topics that you really have to make sure that you are mentally prepared to be reading about. Okay, if you've read any books by Amber McBride, this is my second book by her. I read Me Ma by her, and that book was amazing. I did the audiobook of that, and I just loved the sound and the feeling of the entire book. So Amber McBride is definitely that girl to me when it comes to stories. So we're also good at smiling. It starts off, we meet Whimsy, and she's in a hospital. She's admitted to a hospital for her mental health. What you have to understand really about Amber's writing is that it does not explicitly state things, right? So you do have to do the work in reading Amber's writing, or reading We're Also Good at Smiling. You do have to do the work when you're reading it to figure out, what exactly does she mean when she says this. A lot of her books are based on theme, are based on like comparisons. Like this could mean something, but it could also mean something else. So it's definitely not a lot of explicit out in your face. You're going to be reading and trying to decipher for yourself as a reader what's really going on in the story. And I guess it's good because different people can get different things out of the book. So I say that to say, um, okay, so Whimsy's, just like her character in the book Ma, she does hoodoo. They do hoodoo. So Whimsy does hoodoo, and while she's in this hospital, she's unable to, and she really talks about the need for her connection with the dirt and the need for a connection with the earth, and how that plays a main role of even keeping her, even though she's in this hospital, what has kept her grounded has been her connection to hoodoo, has been her connection to the earth, to plants, to things that grow, to things that have life. And she really suffers through being able to, um, you know, function in this hospital without those things. But she makes it through. She ends up looking out the window. There's so much symbolism in the story, and she sees this boy with blue hair, and he has like fairy wings. And then so she's like, okay, so who's this? So they're in like this group meeting, um, and her and the fairy, they have a banter already. They have like similar, personalities. Neither of them know why each of them are there. And we really don't glean why Whimsy's there or why Fairy's there until, further on. So they have a bit of banter in the hospital that they're admitted to. And so then that happens, and then, I guess the doctor in the story tells him, tells Whimsy's parents, this seems like it's not Whimsy's first time being admitted in this hospital. And it seems like in the story, the reason Whimsy is there is because she tried to say bye bye on her own. And so her parents put her there to keep her from saying bye bye on her own. So the doctor tells them that they believe that Whimsy is, ready to leave. So there is sort of like a repressed memory. And Whimsy talks about it in the story about how her mother does magic to make her forget what this repressed memory is. And we get bits and pieces of what it possibly could be in the story. So Whimsy is navigating her life as a young girl who is going through the struggles of this repressed memory that we know that she experienced, but we're not really sure to what extent. And she's trying to pick up the pieces from that experience. And it's interesting because it's like, how am I going to pick up the pieces when a part of me is not really sure what these pieces are? So that's an interesting theme. So she's journeying as a young girl, and there is a location by her house. It's like a forest slash. It's a forest. It's a forest. It's a forest, and she is having, like, she's not allowed to go to the forest anymore because that's where whatever happened in the story happened. So she tries with everything to avoid the forest, and it's that kind of thing where it's almost like when something bad has happened to you, the depths that you go in life to make sure that something either stays deeply hidden down so you can continue to function. But sometimes when you put it so far down, it actually only can come back up because you can't fully function as yourself at your best self if you are repressing or you're hiding something deep down that's preventing you from being your full self. And so there's that idea with the hidden memory that she has and her avoidance of the forest. Kids at her school, they make fun of her, um, but the teachers and stuff are cognizant of her mental health, so they kind of like, you know, don't really bother Whimsy too much. So Whimsy and Fairy go to the same school. They go to the same school when Fairy just got there. Um, he goes to the school and they're in the same class, and Whimsy gets in a tiff with another boy, and I believe Fairy is there to look out for her. Fairy meets her at her house, to say, to talk about what happened. Whimsy is obviously like disinterested. She makes constant mentions of his fairy wings, of his blue hair, of the leaves or the plants on his arms or his body on his neck. So I'm guessing Fairy has like tattoos and different kinds of things that she looks at. So those are Fairy's descriptions. And so based on my interpretation of the story, and again, like I don't want to say that things are like explicit in the story, and because of what it deals with, it really can be, how you interpret it. But so just like I believe Whimsy suffers from depression, and this book, it can really resonate because it's almost like when you know, you're struggling with something, and people are, when you're struggling with something and you're just kind of trying to get through, and it, you can just kind of connect with Whimsy in a way where you're like, I get it, or I felt that way too. So Whimsy is definitely, I would say, relatable in a sense that what she's going through, to some extent, I can say, a lot of young people, it doesn't even have to be young people, a lot of older people, I would say, might have gone through it too. So, sorry, I'm just going to put this in here. I know this is so ghetto. So, um, yeah, what Whimsy goes through, I feel like as an adolescent or even like as a person, it's nothing that I feel like anybody can relate to it. It's not just certain people. I feel like in some aspect of your life, you can relate to what Whimsy has gone through. So it seems to me in the story, what I've gleaned is that she falls into another bout of depression, and this time it and it happened after she had a tiff with that boy in school, and she's like really just like so annoyed that her mom and her family and her brain cannot remember. Well, her mom and her family had done something. She talks about, when the police came, her mom did something to make them forget. They buried someone, but not really. The mom says that the person is just lost, and she just cannot connect the pieces. So it seems like after the thing that happened, the tip that she had with the boy in school, Whimsy goes down a dark spiral once again, and this spiral seems to be um, more difficult to get out of. It's a darker hole, it's a deeper hole, and it's much dark. It's much deeper. It's much darker than Whimsy had to deal with in the past. So this is symbiotic with her avoidance of the forest because Whimsy, she's in this dark place, and I believe Fairy falls into that dark place as well. And he ends up going to that forest that she's been avoiding in order to just escape the darkness and to just be done. So Whimsy, with her strength, she wants to help Fairy, and she goes to that forest that she's avoided. And that's interesting because maybe it's almost like saying, my interpretation is, whatever happened in that forest previously that she was avoiding, now is her time to go ahead and help Fairy out and to do what she couldn't do before. So she does go in the forest, and it's literally like a rabbit hole. The story describes like creatures, it describes, beings, it describes like these spirits, it describes, these monsters, these really creepy, just disgusting, like dark things in that forest. The description of those things, it's like one, it's like, Holly, it's like monster scary, right? Like, Hollywood movie scary, the way that it's described. But when you think, more critically, you're like, oh, like these things just represent like the darkest parts of yourself that talk down to you, that like make sure that you stay in a position of hopelessness, that you stay in a position of helplessness. These beings, really represent thought processes that people will go through and experience, and will really just be, those kind of situations that are like, just stay down forever. It's easy here, this place is where you want to be. You don't want to be out there in the world. You don't want to keep trying. You want to give up. You want to quit. So it is interesting because those, scary monsters, the descriptions of those spirits, those beings, and those things, they would say things like that. And it would be up to Whimsy, sorry. I don't know if I've been calling her Mimsy, but her name is Whimsy. It'll be up to like Whimsy to like really talk to herself and to talk herself out of it. And Amber also uses like hoodoo spirits and what they're known for, and how they play a role in helping Whimsy. Like a hoodoo spirit that Whimsy is aware of will come to Whimsy's rescue and to help her through this phase into another phase. And it's just ghoulish. It's very ghoulish. It's very dark. And she goes through different phases. It's very like rabbit hole, very Alice in Wonderland, very, is this happening? Is this not happening? Obviously, it's not, but mentally, it's like so dark that this is the best way that Amber can describe it. Like she's saying forest, a place that is, so mysterious. It can be dark. It can be a very scary place, a very, lonely place when you go. So like her symbolism is like really on par. When you're like reading this, you're just like touched. you're touched by everything. You're just like, oh my God, I can't even believe that someone could like forge such a masterpiece in so eloquently these poetic words. Amber McBride is just like off the chain in her amazingness, as a writer. The story is really beautiful. It's dark. You do need to take care of yourself when you're reading, but it's beautiful. So at the end, we figure out what that repressed memory is. And apparently, so Whimsy and Fairy have been childhood friends, and Fairy has a sister named Tail. Amber kind of always like does those things with like the names and words. I feel like she kind of did something like that in Moth too. So Whimsy's brother. Oh no. Ooh, I can't remember Whimsy's brother's name, and I don't have the book with me. It was Alone from Libby. I want to say his name was Knight. If you know the name of the brother, put it in the chat. Let me know if you like the story as well. But Fairy definitely had a sister named Tail. Whimsy had a brother as well. And so Whimsy and Fairy were like childhood friends, but Whimsy's mom ended up like doing hoodoo, making him and his family like move away because essentially Tail and Whimsy's brother killed them. Not what I said. Whimsy's brother and um, Fairy's sister Tail said bye bye together. And so Whimsy and Fairy were children when it happened, but they were there in the forest when it happened. So that was the repressed memory that Whimsy couldn't remember, and that's why she avoided the forest. And I mean, the story is a great read. It's magnificent. It's actually a quick read. Um, Moth was a quick read too. Um, so just let me know in the chat. I don't want to make this video too long. As I said, I want to do like an overarching, like kind of summary. If you didn't see my last video, I did make a point to say that these videos are not going to be like those super like consumer friendly YouTube channels about books where you're going to see like stacks and stacks of books that I'm telling you that you need to read and you need to buy and that are like so amazing. You're going to see you're not going to see that many books simply just because I read off my Kindle a lot just to minimize the amount of books I have in my home. I'm going to be reading off my Kindle. A lot of times the books are being rented from my Libby library app. So I can't keep them forever. And the ones that I buy are going to be on my Kindle, or if I am buying them, I'm getting them at Book Outlet. And if it's like, something that if I know I'm going to be in love with it, like this could be us. I think I bought like Kennedy Ryan's books, obviously, I'll buy. Then I'll get it from like Amazon or Barnes and Noble. But if I'm at Barnes and Noble, I'm like viewing, okay? So yeah, so this is not one of those YouTube videos about books and book reviews where you're gonna see like a ton of books and it's gonna be like, consumers crazy. It's just not. We're just gonna be talking about books. Leave a comment here. I love to respond. I love to get the conversation going. I love engaging about stories. I mean, it's just simply my favorite. Like, I so love to read, and I just made this channel to like talk to other people who enjoy reading as well. All right, thank you, and follow me on TikTok. I'm going to put my TikTok, link on here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel to get more videos. I have these, like face-to-face videos, and I do have some podcast style videos of some previous books that I've read. Thank you.